Hello and welcome to today's property breaking news. This week we're going to report to you on two very important property industry trends that you need to know about right now so that you can take advantage of these trends as they play out over the year. Hi, I'm Ranjan Bhattacharya. I'm joined on property breaking news as usual by Andrew Roberts. Hi Andrew.
Good morning, Ranjan, and what a fine weekend it's been as well.
And we've got
Thank
some
you.
great news stories to report on. But if you're new to this channel, don't go away without subscribing and clicking that bell icon. We release new videos each and every week, and you're going to want to know when we upload. So subscribe and smash that bell icon right now. So Andrew, we've got two stories today. We're going to look at, coming up, if you like, is the London market. The London market has been in the doldrums for the last year, and it is about to roar. We're going to give you the update on the latest analysis, the latest data and figures, which kind of show you how the London market will play out. But the first thing we're going to look at is, we talk a lot about commercial property and repurposing commercial property to residential use on this channel. But what about repurposing commercial property to commercial uses? Now, there is a whole new usage of commercial property that's emerging right now. Andrew, do you want to tell us a little bit about dark kitchens and stores? Are these just properties with no electricity, with the lights off, or what?
Absolutely. No, seriously, this is a real growth sector. It's a sector which, shall we say, the COVID pandemic actually caused an explosion in growth, but it has been around for quite some time. Companies like Getir have been in this market space since 2015, so it's been around a long time, and they've got stores across the globe. Now, what this is taking commercial property that already exists, such as car parks, railway sidings, industrial units, places which are close to where the consumer demand is, and repurposing them from whatever their prior purpose was to a last mile or last couple of minute delivery service. So it's a real growth marketplace. But we don't just have dark kitchens and dark stores. We actually have real bricks and mortar stores delivering the last mile by robot. Now that's a canny thing
It's
to
all
utilize.
changed. Because of course in the old days, the only dark commercial properties were cinemas.
Yeah.
So let's just explain what dark kitchens are. I guess, we all order takeaway food, Deliveroo and all of that. And if you think about it, it is illogical that you've got people in a restaurant eating there, and then you've got all these Deliveroo drivers queuing up with their helmets on and all of that. Usually in congested areas where these restaurants are, coming to pick up orders to take them around people's homes. But this kind of turns that concept around on its head. How does a dark kitchen work for
Yeah.
delivery of food?
Well, it's a completely different concept where with a restaurant, you end up with a manager, waiting staff, and bar staff and overheads. They also have to generally be located in prime locations in town centres. Well, dark kitchens tend to be located outside of the town centre, more in residential or semi-industrial areas, and it tends to be a kitchen with just kitchen staff in, receiving electronic orders, and there can be multiple franchises providers within those kitchens. So 1 minute you could be making pizzas for Pizza Express, the next minute a Chinese, the next minute an Indian.
Some of them work like serviced offices. Like you have a serviced office, you have multiple takeaway outlets located in the same space. So they share the common infrastructure, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. They all share common infrastructure, and they can either be collected by a last mile delivery outfit such as Deliveroo, or organizations like Gorilla, Wheezy, Getir actually have their own infrastructure to deliver that last mile.
They've all got funny
So
names, haven't they, these startups? But these are massively well-funded startups which are global.
Yeah, they're absolutely huge, global businesses. And if we were to look at the technology sector, which is what these organizations are categorized under, they're forecast and predicted to be the fastest growing tech trend. Now, if I was to look at Getir is actually has a valuation of around 5 billion already, yet it's still not really turning a profit. Now, it's another one of these tech industries that you sit there and go, whoa, but the property industry is backing this, and the property sector itself believes, okay, a few of these might fall by the wayside, but there will be consolidation. If we go back to the days of early cable, when there used to be 20, 30 cable providers, it then all consolidated down to two, and then Virgin took over those final two and rebranded it as Virgin Fibre.
We'll get back to the video in just a moment. What is the most exciting opportunity in property right now? And that is repurposing defunct commercial buildings to residential use. Now, most people don't really know where to start, what to look for, and how to exploit these opportunities. And that's why I've prepared 90 minutes of free training for you to get you started on this wonderful journey. You can register for this free training at property-workshop.com. Join me on that free training, and I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of the video. So the types of properties those people are looking for, I mean, if you're looking for a restaurant or a takeaway, you're looking for high footfall, high street locations, lots of people walking around and all of that. The types of buildings people are looking for to house a dark kitchen, they're quite different, aren't they? Slightly industrial, in industrial estates and things where cars can get in and out easily.
Absolutely, or they can be surplus parking or wasteland. And what they do is they drop in shipping containers on them and convert the insides of shipping containers. So they literally are pop-up businesses that are utilizing surplus or waste space. And the beautiful thing is that these guys have as a competitive advantage over traditional operators of restaurants and takeaways is because they're not in prime locations, they're typically paying very, very low rental rates for their operations, so they can get to profit. Their break-even point is a lot lower than a traditional restaurant.
Yes, yes. And the other side of this is the dark stores. So
Yeah,
the dark stores are basically shops where customers are not walking around, isn't it?
that's right. They're stores which are more set up as a warehouse, and they have operatives picking the goods and shipping them out. Now, Waitrose has spotted this gap in the market as one of the operators in this sector. And what they've done is popped up dark stores in areas where they don't currently have a presence of a retail store. It's a much lower cost of entry for them to get into this market space. Now, the interesting thing is they're a big provider. There are lots of smaller providers in this sector too, who are also startups with fun and funky names. But this then puts pressure on the local convenience store because these dark store operators are aiming to deliver within the hour to your door. Now, if they're delivering within the hour, why do we need shops anymore?
So they need to be located obviously within good proximity of residential areas and
Yeah,
also on a good road network. But in essence, I mean, we call it dark stores, but it's really Argos with a few Deliveroo drivers, isn't it? I mean, that's basically what
it
we're talking
absolutely
about.
is. Yeah, it absolutely is. Or there's organizations like Starship that do deliveries via robot. And I I have them in my area, and it is so funny watching people and children just watching these robots delivering people's groceries around, and people actually follow them.
Yeah, I've heard of Starship, a very enterprising idea, I must say. Had to get that in, folks. We talk about
A
commercial.
good Trekkie reference.
Live long and prosper. We talk about commercial properties often being defunct, but we don't often talk about how there are whole new sectors opening up which have a need for commercial properties, and dark kitchens and also the dark stores are just going to be massive in the future, because one of the big problems stores have, of course, is carrying enough stock
Yeah,
in a place where people can also walk around, like Argos have
absolutely.
done. The minute you don't have people walking around between the aisles, you can carry all the stock that people need, all the range of sizes and product range and choice that people demand. And if you can get that product to people in a short space of time, then obviously those outlets will win.
Yeah, well, they're built around efficiency of operation. I mean, I've had the fortune of being able to go into Amazon warehouses and see the efficiency of their operations. Now,
I didn't
Ocado
realize
is
you did that part-time job at the weekend, Andrew.
one has to keep one's hand in.
Sorry.
Places like Ocado are effectively a dark store, and they have been around and are also a £100 million listed operation. So these organisations are around, have been around for some time, but the pandemic has caused explosive growth where people haven't wanted to go out to do the shopping, or couldn't go out, and have had it delivered to them.
Absolutely. And I think, needless to say, all these dark stores and dark kitchens will also mean that some of the light stores, if you like, will become redundant and ripe for repurposing, dare I say it.
Absolutely, and it creates more opportunities for us on both sides of the equation. I know we have analysed some store opportunities that we could put dark store operators into. So it's a case of repurposing commercial to commercial, but also commercial to residential, where there is huge opportunity. And I think that leads us into our London article quite nicely, the repurposing.
Oh, absolutely. And before we do that, if you're liking what we're talking about, make sure you like, leave us your comments. Tell us what you think. Have you had any interactions with dark stores? Have you had one move in near you? Or are you renting a premises to a dark kitchen or dark store provider? Let us know in the comments below. And don't go away without subscribing and clicking that bell icon, because you then will not miss out when we upload new content. The next story we are looking at is really something that has been upsetting me over the last year. I mean, we've talked a lot about rampant price growth in residential property up and down the country, but sadly, London has missed out. Of course, London has been a complete ghost town during COVID lockdown, thanks to, of course, the clear out of all the offices, no one wanting to use public transport, travel restrictions affecting people coming in, the shutdown of all the nightlife in London. I mean, that pretty much made London feel like some post-apocalyptic, I can't say that word, what is that word?
Apocalyptic, shall we have
Yes,
that?
yes, one of those
Apocalyptic.
that.
You've obviously been had by the zombies.
That's it. It makes it look like one of those. So, but now, of course, I mean, I think the London market has clearly bottomed out, and there's this article. There's this research done by Savills on the super prime sector of the residential market in London, and basically, in the first half of this year, in 2021. There were 237 transactions for properties over £5 million. Now, I know £5 million is a lot of money for property, but the reason we look at the upper end is because what's happening there very soon filters down into the rest of the London market. So it's an important barometer of what's going to happen, a lead indicator of what's going to happen to the general London market in just a few short months. So in the first half of 2021, there were a record number, 237 £5 million plus transactions. That's up 59% from the first half of the year in 2020 during the height of lockdown, and 61% from 2019, the same period in 2019, which is very interesting because we weren't in lockdown then. What do you think about London? I mean, I know you're not a Londoner, but do you think we all deserve to have zero price increases, or do you see it as a recoil spring?
No, it's actually very interesting. And I'm glad you brought in the 2019 because so many commentators refer to, oh, we're up on 2020. Well, yeah, it wouldn't take much to get up on 2020, but 2019 is the interesting comparator. It was pre the COVID incidents. Yes, it was in that post Brexit vote scenario, but it's key that it was up. Now, where I look at this is London is a bit like a stone in a pond, and as you say, it ripples out. Now, Kensington, Chelsea have seen the most growth, and that is, I believe, because there's starting to become international travel again. So the international buyers are coming back to the London marketplace, but also that is rippling out into the outer boroughs, and then will ripple up or across country as well. And I think that that's a key trend that we are going to see over the coming 2 years. And because the prices of residential are going up, whereas the commercial, where it's defunct, is going down, it creates greater opportunities for everybody.
I think we also have to rewind to what was happening in 2019. Yes, we didn't have COVID, but we also had that was the time when we had the general election. We had the issue of is Jeremy Corbyn going to get in, which obviously international folks wouldn't be that keen on, and of course a lot of domestic folks. But also we had the Brexit issue, so there was a lot of uncertainty around that time anyway. Which is and so there's a lot of pent up demand, not just from COVID, but pre-COVID. But some other interesting data to look at is how, of course, the travel market is coming back big time. People are able to travel into the UK without quarantining. But the pound, the value of the pound, is looking undervalued compared to a lot of our competitor currencies. Because quite frankly, even though we've printed a lot of money, we haven't printed a lot of money relative to people like the US and the like. So that's an interesting dynamic where not only has London property been in the doldrums, but international buyers are finding it cheap because the pound is also undervalued. Have you looked into
Absolutely.
that?
No, absolutely. And I have come up against international buyers on property purchases. And because they are paying the same price in their local currency, be it euros or dollars, they are actually buying it cheaper than I am because that conversion rate to the pound gives them that extra bit of margin to be able to compete with me. But can I just ask a question? You said there was a 2019 election and if Jeremy Corbyn got in, who is this Jeremy Corbyn fella? I've not seen him in the news for years.
Well, I heard something in the news about they may want to bring him back as the next leader of the Labour Party. But anyway, that's another thing that we'll discuss if it happens. But a related story has also been this research that Knight Frank has put out this weekend, and they've said that in Q2 of this year, there's been 1.49 billion pound of investment in office space in the southeast of England. That's interesting because of this, because there's a lot in the media about how we're all working from home, we're all sitting on our sofas watching Holly Willoughby and all of that, and with our laptops and that kind of thing. But no, people actually want people to be in the office. The office sector has had its highest investment in the southeast since 2013. So that's interesting for twofold, I think. Number one is that people will be going to offices and they'll need to live within commutable distance to centres where those offices are. But the other thing is this repurposing thing that we talk about. It's just that the offices that are built are modern offices designed for modern day working practices. And pretty much any office building built before this century simply is not fit for the way offices work today. So that's why it tends to be repurposing of the old and building nice air-conditioned offices with tall ceilings and able to accommodate air conditioning, raised flooring for structured cabling and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
These kind of two trends kind of link in with each other.
They certainly do. And well, we both follow the news. And at the start of this year, we actually saw a breaking of ranks in terms of a trend reversal. And that was initially started by Google, who signed up massive swathes of London office space to actually run their operations from. And that was as far back as January this year. So we've been following this trend for some time. And it's interesting that Knight Frank eventually, 6 months later, now start to report on what we've been seeing and feeling in the marketplace.
And exactly. So if you want to really keep up to date, you've got to subscribe to this channel so you receive those regular updates. So basically, I mean, Boris Johnson has been talking a lot about levelling up different areas of the country. So we should see a return to a little bit of re-levelling with London roaring back to life.
Well, it will be nice for London to sort of get back to some of their multi-million pound properties and steal the punters away from the northeast of England, which has been booming over the last 12 months.
So I think whether you invest in London or not, London, of course, is very important. It's the capital of the UK. It's also a world international city. And what happens in London, the prosperity of the London market actually ripples out and the trends play out across the UK. So it's very, very important what happens in the London property market. And of course, I've always said London is an international city. It works slightly differently to the rest of the UK. Of course, when you go into any hotel around the world and you check in, you see clocks above the reception desk, and they always give you the time in different places. They say, they'll say London, New York, Tokyo, Paris. They won't say Birmingham, will they, Andrew?
Unless you're in Birmingham, Alabama, of course.
Oh, of course. And on that bombshell, that's about all we got time for this week. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our future update videos. Andrew, any closing remarks?
Well, I think stay tuned, because I know next week we've got some more great breaking news stories and trends that you want to stay on top of.
That's it. They may be not fashion trends looking at Andrew and I, but they're certainly property trends. See you guys in the next video. Bye for now.